briefly, guys, in cylindrical components, I know that R will be equal to RUR plus UZ if it is in 3D. And this is R. R will be in 2D, in X and Y. And R is going to have a counterclockwise angle with X, right? So I know, guys, that if I add to R the vector Z, then this will give me the total position, or P. So I have RUR plus ZUZ. And what you have to know, guys, that this UZ is constant. It's K, in fact. And since it is K, then the derivative of K is equal to 0 with respect to time. So that's why you're not going to see any du Z over dt. Z will be only Z dot, and the dot will be Z double dot in acceleration. And then if you do the derivative of RUR, you're going to have this VP and this AP. That's it. I'm going to start by the first problem here. I have the small washer that is sliding down the chord OA when it is at midpoint. Its speed is 28 and its acceleration at 7 meters per second squared. So I know the velocity as well as I know the acceleration. And I have to express the velocity and acceleration of the washer in terms of cylindrical components, not rectangular components. So I should guys, define them or express them in terms of UR and UZ. So let's start. Now here, guys, it's very obvious that there is no a component in theta direction because there is no change in theta. So as you can see, guys, there is no change in theta. The motion is only along OA. All right? So in fact, the motion is only along OA. All right? So which means, guys, I don't have U theta. Although I know that there is no component in theta, on U theta. I'm going to prove it now, right? So we're going to start, guys, by finding the velocity in vector form. I know that the magnitude of this velocity is 28. But what is the direction of this velocity? Who can tell, guys? What's the direction of this velocity? What's the direction of this velocity, guys? Quickly. It is the negative direction of OA, or it is AO. So it is, V will be 28 times the unit vector of AO, or minus the unit vector of OA. So the unit vector of AO is equal to minus the unit vector of OA. Now what is OA? What is OA? OA, no, it's not only Noor minus 3J plus minus 6K. I have also I. OA, in fact, so if I want to do OA here, OA is what? OA is, what is in I? It's 2I plus 3J plus 6K. So this is OA, guys. Now, if we want to find the unit vector of OA, of minus OA, sorry, it is minus 2I minus 3J minus 6K over the magnitude of OA, which is 4 plus 9 plus 36. All right? So guys, this is the unit vector of OA. Then I can find V now. V will be equal to 28 times this vector here. So it will be equal to minus 8I minus 12J minus 24K. Yes, but yes, Hassan, it's the midpoint, and they are giving me, this is the midpoint basically. This is the coordinate of midpoint, but they are taking a part of the figure. So these are the A is the midpoint, all right? So they are giving me the coordinates of midpoint. Okay? All right, so this is V, guys. This is the velocity V in vector form. Am I done? It's V in vector form. Am I done, guys? The question is to find V in terms of cylindrical components, which means in terms of UR, U theta, UZ. How can I do this? How can I find V in UR, for example? So how can I find the component of V in UR, in R direction? What do you think, guys? Remember from statics, what should I do? It is V dot UR. It's V dot UR. It's the scalar product, the dot product between the velocity V in vector form and UR in vector form. This is how I can find the radial component, the scalar radial components of V. Now, what is UR? I know that R, this is R. All right, so this is R. So I know that R, in fact, is 2R plus 3J. And this means, guys, that the unit vector of R, UR, is 2R plus 3J over radical 4 plus 9, which is radical 13. So I'm going to do the dot product. And remember, guys, the dot product, U dot V, is what if I know the components in X, Y, and Z? It is X prime plus Y prime plus Z prime. We go over them in statics. All right? So UR here, in fact, is 2 over radical 13I plus 3 over radical 13J. All right? So what will be X prime minus 8 times 2 over radical 13? So it is minus 8 times 2 over radical 13 minus 12, or yes, minus 12 times 3 over radical 13 minus 24 times what? Times 0, because there is no K here in UR. So VR will be equal to minus 14.42, and this is the scalar component in radial direction. Now, what about V theta? V theta should be equal to 0 because there is no change in the position with respect to theta. But I'm going to prove it now. V theta is equal to V dot U theta. This is the component of V in theta direction. It is V dot U theta. Now, how to find U theta? Of course, guys, you can, for example, you can call this theta. This is theta, in fact. And then you can say that R is equal to R cosine theta plus R sine theta and J. And then you can find theta. And whenever you find theta, you can find U theta, right? Which is the perpendicular vector to UR. And U theta will be minus sine theta plus cosine I plus cosine theta J. And or U theta, yes. And then, you guys, you can find the vector U theta and I J. Or what you can do is to say, so you can do it using trigonometric relations, or you can say U theta is AI plus BJ. So it's AI plus BJ, where A and I are the components of U theta in I and J respectively. And I know, guys, that the magnitude of U theta is 1, which means that A squared plus B squared is equal to 1. So A squared plus B squared is equal to 1. All right? So from these two equations, I can find, in fact, A and B, because I know that since U theta is perpendicular to UR, then this means, guys, that what? That U theta dot UR in scalar product is equal to what, guys? To what? Quickly. 0, yes. And this means that x prime plus y prime is equal to 0. What is x of UR? It's 2 radical 13, and J is 3 over radical 13. And this means, guys, that A times 2 over radical 13 plus B times 3 over radical 13 is equal to 0. And this means, guys, that B is equal to minus 2A over 3. And if you replace this B here, you can find A, and A will be equal to A squared plus 4 over 9. A squared is equal to 1, and then this means that A will be equal to 3 over radical 13. And then, guys, this means that U theta is equal to 3 over radical 13 I minus 2 over radical 13 J. And this means, guys, that if I do the dot product of V and U theta, so guys, I'm tired from writing using my hands. I'm gonna use this one. So now if I do V dot U theta, then this will be equal to minus 8 times 3 over radical 13 plus 24 times radical 13, and this will be equal to what, guys? Minus 8 times 3 is 24 over radical 13 plus 24 over radical 13. This will be equal to 0. I can know this since what? Since there is no change in theta. Right? So since there is no change in theta, I can directly know that V dot U theta is equal to 0. Now what about V dot U Z? V dot U Z is very clear. If I go back here, guys, V dot U Z is 24. It's minus 24, sorry. So V dot U Z, V dot K is minus 24. All right? So this is the component, and Z is minus 24. And this means, guys, that V will be equal, in vector form, of course, it will be equal to, what is V dot UR? It is minus 14.42, so V will be equal to minus 14.42 UR plus 0 U theta minus 24. Okay. Now, guys, you can do, or use that. You can do the same, guys, for A, because also A has the direction of minus OA, and it has a magnitude of 7. So instead of having 28 here, in A you will have 7, and then you can do the same concept, the same strategy to find A in cylindrical coordinates. All right? Now, whenever I know V in UR, U theta, U Z, I can find the magnitude of V. Right? If the question also is to find the magnitude, radical 14.42 squared plus 24 squared. So this is for this problem. Any question? How do we know that A is the midpoint? Since they said that it's sliding from A to O. In fact, this is no. They are saying it is a sliding down the chord OA, and they are giving me the coordinates of this point. Right? Its speed is 28, its acceleration is 7. Okay? When it is at midpoint, they are giving me the speed and the acceleration. Of course, they have to give me the coordinates. Now, if they mean by the midpoint of OA, so it is the same concept, Noor, except that if the question is not clear, and they mean by this midpoint, it is the midpoint of OA, so it's somewhere here. What you have to do is the same concept, except that you have to divide the 6 by 2, divide the 3 by 2, and divide the 2 by 2. All right? It will be the same answer, because in fact, I am finding the direction of OA. I'm finding the direction of OA, so it will be the same answer. It doesn't matter if it is over 2. It is direction, all right? And then I'm going to find the unit vector. So it doesn't matter if it is here or it is at this point, in fact. Okay?